Huh. So I wasn't expecting to make 3 straight Vancouver Canucks-related videos, but I guess this doesn't technically count as one of those. Anyways, let's dive into it here. We've got some interesting updates, a signing at the hands of the Edmonton Oilers, as well as Elliotte Friedman expressing his surprise at a specific decision made in New York. Let's start out this video by talking about the latest with Edmonton. Pods! The Oilers have signed forward Vasili Podkolzin to a 3-year contract extension with an AAV of $2.95 million. And for the most part, Oilers fans are absolutely liking this deal. AFP Analytics said that it was a solid deal for both sides, considering the fact that Edmonton bought a UFA year. Their projection for Podkolzin was 2 years at $2.3 million. The actual contract that Pods got was 3 years at $2.9 million. So Edmonton gets a little bit more on their plate in terms of the years. Podkolzin gets a little bit more in terms of the actual dollars he gets. Not a bad piece of business on both sides. Jimmy Van goes out there, says, seems like a lot, but the cap is going up. Still got some cap space for Connor McDavid. I'll take what Podkolzin brings over Skinner and Arvidsson. Feels like a slight overpay. Okay, there's a little bit of hesitation here. This is the domino that Connor has been waiting for. Time to sign. Yeah, so a lot of people are going out there and joking around. Oh, hey, this is the signing that we were all waiting for. It's Podkolzin. But honestly, I feel like Pods has been very underrated the past few years, and it was only really last season that we started to see him coming into his own in the best way possible. 24-year-old winger, a guy who is making not a lot of money the past few years. I mean, he signed a 2 years, $1 million AAV contract with the Vancouver Canucks, that in which he never actually ended up playing on, because right after he signed it, he got traded to Edmonton for a 4th-round pick. That 4th-round pick was then sent back over to Edmonton for Evander Kane. So, kind of funny the way the tides work between these two Western Canadian franchises. But Podkolzin, 24 points in all 82 games played, and he was half a point a game in the playoffs, also scoring the final goal for Edmonton in the 2025 run in Game 6 against the Florida Panthers. Things just did not work out all too well for Podkolzin. In the past few seasons in Vancouver, he went from a guy who had 26 points in 79 Vancouver games to not really meshing with Rick Tocchet's system. You would think that stylistically, the things that Podkolzin brings to the table would excel under Tocchet. But as with a lot of the other younger guys, Podkolzin just kind of froze up when he would play in Vancouver under the Tocchet coaching regime, because he would be a little scared. He would be afraid to make mistakes, and he would always make the safe play 100% of the time. No activation in his game, just a total lack of trying to make things happen. And I don't know if it was that per se, or just the overall distrust that Tocchet seemed to have had with certain Russian players that led to Podkolzin being demoted to the AHL. But he got demoted, and he honestly didn't produce too well with Abbotsford either. 28 points in 44 games. It wasn't a great season in 23-24 for Vasili Podkolzin, yet the Canucks still found a way to pay him. They still got him a 2-year deal worth $1 million a year. So it was kind of weird to see him get traded shortly after to the Edmonton Oilers of all teams. But then he found himself on Leon Draisaitl's wing. So pretty good with that, right? You love to see these success stories coming out of Vancouver, even if the players exhibit success on other teams. This is where we start talking about another player who is exhibiting a lot of success here. It's JT Miller with the New York Rangers, and the reason we are bringing him up one more time in this video is because of what Elliotte Friedman said on Donnie and Dolly earlier this week. I mean, Friedman, he's been doing his radio hits and his TV hits now. He went out there and spoke about the Miller situation in New York, saying, to be honest, I thought they would go with Trocheck. We're going over onto CanucksDaily.com because an article from Edward Jackson goes out there and gives us the quote from Elliotte Friedman on the same show. It's just written out here so we can follow along. Friedman says about JT Miller getting the captaincy, I was a little bit surprised, but what I think they're saying here is that last year was not acceptable, and they want to go completely turn the page. To be honest, Don, I thought they would go with Trocheck. I really did. I thought Vinny Trocheck was going to be the guy. But they didn't. And basically, I think it was the New York Rangers saying, what happened last year is over, what happened last year was unacceptable, and we are going to turn the page, and that's why we're going to have a new player, or relatively new player, wear the captaincy. Someone who wasn't really tied into last year. He added, I think that was their thought process. I mean, look, everyone knows that last year in Vancouver, Miller was a big part of what went wrong. Everybody gets a chance to start over again, and everybody gets a chance to prove this year is different. You're going through that this year with Pettersson. He's trying to show that this year is different and better, but I do think that Miller was named captain in New York because they didn't want anyone tainted by last year to be wearing the C. That's the way I saw it myself. Now, I'm not saying that JT Miller is like the worst choice out there for captain. I can understand the qualities that he brings that the Rangers see value in, that are like, hey, that guy embodies what we want in our leadership core. Miller, when he is on, is one of the best players in the league, honestly. Like, he is a passing wizard. He makes really good things happen. He makes them happen out of nowhere. And it's not like they're super amazing highlight reel plays either. JT Miller, I don't know if he had a single, like, Pavel Datsyuk, Connor McDavid-like moment in his 100-point campaign with the Vancouver Canucks in 23-24. Yeah, there were some good goals, there were some nice plays, but I don't think anything was like top-of-the-league caliber, number one SportsCenter highlight reel-worthy play out of JT Miller. He just makes things happen without making them look all too difficult. And that is one of the best parts about Miller when he is on. He is an offensive dynamo. His playmaking, his aggressiveness, his forecheck, his willingness to dive in, those are all top-tier qualities, and you can see he's a very vocal guy. He organized all the team parties at his house in Vancouver. This is an American, outspoken, leadership type of guy who just happens to have a few bad skeletons in his closet when you really get into the heart of what he brings. And some of these seasons in Vancouver's past, the 2020 bubble season, 46 points in 53 games played, yeah, sure, the point production's fine, but this was the year where Miller would go out and start yelling constantly, frustrated at himself, and banging his stick on the back of the goaltender's net, trying to yell at him to leave. This is where we saw maybe the worst out of JT Miller, which included some very lackadaisical back-checking plays and just an unwillingness to get involved when he was tired or when he just didn't feel like it. The next few years, Miller really started to get things back together. 99 points in 80 games. This was a really good year. 82 points in 81 games, 22-23. We started to see a lot of those bad Miller tendencies creep up a little bit. And then it all went away when Mrtka came in stall, and 103 points in 81 games, that says it all right there. Miller was a total beast. The previous season, however, he was a big part in what went wrong between the Vancouver Canucks, himself, and Elias Pettersson. It's why they had no choice but to trade him. Jim Rutherford has stressed in every interview he has done since that the Miller trade was a trade that they didn't want to make, but they were forced to make it. Quinn Hughes spoke out on Miller, not really saying Miller's name directly, but essentially saying that all the problems are gone with the team, that there's time to refocus and restabilize with good players that can be better. And now Elliotte Friedman's going out there on the Donnie and Dolly show saying, yeah, like Miller was a problem with Vancouver, but the Rangers, they like what he brings, and they're giving him a chance to revitalize himself. So with all this in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel firstly about Podkolzin signing his extension with the Edmonton Oilers? Are you a fan or not a fan? And what are your thoughts on JT Miller and what Elliotte Friedman said about how he was surprised Miller got that captaincy? If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you did not enjoy, then please hit the dislike button. Comments are also there for your viewing pleasure. They help us out with the algorithm, so I appreciate that a ton. I hope you enjoyed this video 99, and Bye.